Okay, I'm going back again. So this is one sound. I'm gonna try taking these off, and maybe it's better with them off. Just let me know. Can you hear me okay now? Yes, no?
It's
Good,
okay,
okay.
Prabhuji.
All right, great. This is Draganya gonna go to Golodu. Goranga Guru Chamago Purakopa Briksham. Gopala Gada Ratidam. Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kovaram. Shatatam Namani. Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachi Adile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Vaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangira Namare Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamada Pranare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Padama Pumarta Tasmai Jaganmangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Risha Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunath Abda Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyaeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Barshi Vaktra Chandra Prabhadvashta Tamo Barayam Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev. The nectarian shower of the holy name, radiating from the moon of his mouth, destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we're continuing with our discussion today. We have a new participant, which is Madhupati Prabhu, who's a dear friend in Hungary. We have more Hungarians on board right now than anybody else, so be nice. Don't say don't use make any bad jokes about Hungarians. You'll be in trouble. So just to look back, this is chapter 7 of Prema-bhakti-candrika, which is called Akantika Bhakta Riti. Akantika means someone who's one-pointed or unalloyed. This is the characteristics of Riti of an Akantika Bhakta, one-pointed devotee. And let's just look back at our last couple of verses, which we did 3 sessions on. Madhye madhye ache dushta, drishti kori hoya rushta, guna ke viguna kori mani, govinda vimukha jane, spurti nahi hanyadani, lokika kori sabajani. Sometimes mischievous people become angry seeing the dealings of the devotees. They accept the good qualities of devotees as bad qualities. The wealth of devotional service is not manifest in the hearts of those who are averse to Govinda because they consider this wealth as mundane. we spoke on two verses, the second being Agyana abhagya jata nahi loya shakta mata ahankare na jani apa apana abhimani bhakti hina jagamaj se dina dritatar asesha bhavan. Those who are overwhelmed with, in essence, or ignorance, don't take to the path of devotion. Such persons are full of false ego, pride, and innumerable useless desires. They are most fallen in this world and are devoid of devotion and service. So we spoke about this, as I mentioned, over 3 different sessions, and about how we have to be very careful for our association. And in the last session, we spoke about how even amongst so-called devotees or persons who are wearing the symbols of Vaishnavism and maybe externally doing some kind of nam-bhajan, we also have to be very careful in our association. Srila Prabhupada stressed that. He said that we should want to have association with Uttam Vaishnavas. And I gave a simple example from my own life that when I joined the temple after living in a cave in Arizona, Madhua Prabhu, who drove me to Los Angeles, he told me that I should be very careful who I associate with, and I should try to associate with senior devotees. And we gave some examples of some senior devotees are not always what we'd like them to be. We still respect them because that's our culture, but we may have to keep some distance from them. So let's go on to the verse after. Let's see here. Parashabha parihari, parama ishvarahari, sevamana kori prema asha. Eka braja rajapure, govinda rashikavare, koroho sadai abhilash. O mind, give up everything else and serve the Supreme Lord Hari, aspiring for prema. Adasabha parihari, so give up all of the nonsense, everything else. Parama Ishvara Hari, understand that Hari, Krishna, is a Parama Ishvara, he's a supreme controller. And Seva Mana Kori Prema Ash, you should have this desire to have Krishna Prema. How does he put it here? Yearn for. Yeah, it's okay. Seva Mana Kori Prema Ash. We should do service and we should hanker for Krishna Prema. Eka Braja Raja Pure. And we should be very one-pointed, very fixed in serving Krishna in Vrindavan. Govinda Rasika Bhari Koroho Sadai Abhilash. This should be the desire that we have. So, as we mentioned previously, many times, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has written a Sanskrit commentary on Prema-bhakti-candrika. And for this verse, he says, Eka Braja Raja Puri, that to reside only in Braj means Martya Braja Mandala Ityartha. It means staying in this Braj Mandala here in this world. And Narottam is saying that my dear mind, you should always constantly desire to have the lotus feet of Govinda Krishna, who's expert in all these conjugal affairs. So he's speaking this after these previous verses where he stresses about it, the importance of association. Because by the association we have, we imbibe the mood of those persons. And in our society, it's an extremely important thing that we stress that devotees should hanker to have higher association, and we should speak about what that higher association means. Rupa Goswami describes in his Nectar of Instruction that bhajana vigyan, that we want to associate with someone who's expert in bhajan, meaning not just expert in singing and playing instruments, but is expert in giving their heart. And then dadi shunya hidam ipsita, Sangha-labhya. Sangha-labhya means this is the association that we want. This is a very, very important thing. Otherwise, what can happen very easily in a society, does happen in a society like ours, where we, of course, stress so much on the mission that Srila Prabhupada gave, and on the society of devotees, and being faithful to Srila Prabhupada's mission, being faithful to the society of devotees. Those are important things. I've met many different Vaishnavas in many different party bars, Babajis, Goswamis, Gaudiya Math. Everybody stresses that with their disciples and followers. It's not a sectarian thing. It's something that they want to help the disciples with, because if they go so many places, they become confused. So that's important. But at the same time, if we don't have a sense that there's higher and lower Vaishnavas, if we're not constantly hearing this and constantly hearing that we want to associate with higher Vaishnavas who, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, are devotees whose faith is based on Shastra, are devotees who are firmly fixed, who are not very weak in their practice. We love those persons. We want to love and give respect to everyone. We must be amani namanadena, bedeho nata jata jata. Bhaktivinoda says elsewhere that we should learn how to give respect to everyone according to their particular position. So we want to have association with higher Vaishnavas, because it's in association with higher Vaishnavas that we'll get this kind of desire. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is commenting here that we should constantly have this desire. But if we associate with rank and file devotees, and this is again why Madhura Prabhu, when I joined the temple in Los Angeles, he was putting me in the Bhakta program. It's nice, very saintly persons who are joining the temple and wanting to surrender their life, but many of them are remembering their music collection before they joined. Many of them are remembering their old girlfriends or their practice of intoxication or whatever. And although they're good association in comparison to non-devotees, to be sure, and it's very saintly, and from one perspective, we should want to associate with higher Vaishnavas who are always desiring constantly to be able to attain the lotus feet of Krishna in Braj. This is a very, very important aspect of our bhajan. So, Narottam Das Thakur, to start with this point, he's saying that Ara Sabha Parihari, you give up everything else, and seva-mana kori prema as, you want to render service and develop prema for that person who's Parama Ishvara Hari, who's the supreme controller. So this is the first point that he's making, a basic point, which I hope that all of you are familiar with, that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. And this is described throughout Vedic literature as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the cream, Sarva Vedanta Sadam, he's Sarva Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate, it's the cream of all Vedanta. It says that the Krishna is Sarva Avatari, Swayam Rup Govinda. The Gopal Tapani Upanishad describes Tasmat Krishna Eva Paro Devas Tam Dhyayat Tam Rasayat Tam Bhajet Tam Vijedati Om Tat Sat. That Krishna Eva Paro Devas, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Tam Dhyayat, we should meditate on him. Rasayat Tam Bhajet, we should relish the taste of reciprocating exchanges with him. Bhajet Tam, we should worship him. Yajit iti, we should offer our sacrifices to him. Everything is meant for him. Again, there's a confusion. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he speaks about the devatas. And contrary to what many devotees in our society have an impression of, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami, in the Bhakti Sandarbha of Srila Jiva Goswami, our acharyas have instructed repeatedly that we should not only respect, we should worship the devatas. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that yajantya vidi purvakam. This is yajantya vidi, avidi. To worship the devatas is avidi. It's improper. If we're worshiping them as the Supreme Lord. So why do we worship the devatas? Because they're devotees. In Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate, we give all respect to devotees, because by the mercy of devotees, we get bhakti. And as we often comment, the devatas are like the GBC temple presidents of the universe. They're doing very important service, so we should respect them. But if we worship the devatas as being supreme, in other words, we're not giving so much stress on Krishna, but we're giving stress on the devatas, maybe because just like sometimes devotees give more stress to the temple president, even they do to their bhajan, because the temple president holds the keys to so many things. He's a powerful person, so you want to get along nicely with him. So some people also want to get along nicely with the devatas, but that's avidi purvakam. That's improper worship. But it doesn't mean that we don't respect them, we don't worship them. We worship them in connection with Krishna. Tate Krishna Bhaji Kore Guru Sevan. As Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, we often quote in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that my Guru Seva is my Krishna Bhajan. So it's not that when we come to Gurudev that now I'm going to do Gurudev Bhajan and start chanting Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, but rather I'm worshiping Krishna. And although this is a point that we've heard so many times over and over again, and it's a very fundamental point, it's also a very subtle point. As we're speaking here, we can subtly give respect to other personalities, even devotees. Sometimes we may give more worship to them than we do to Krishna. So in the all the Vedic literatures, Gopal Tapani Upanishads recommends we worship Krishna. The Bhagavatam says that Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the original Lord. The Gita, Krishna says, Mata Paratanam Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, says, hey Dhananjaya, that there's no one superior to me. The Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. His body is Satchid and Ananda. It's full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So after saying this thing about Parama Ishvara Hari, Narottam Das Thakur then goes on to say, seva-mana. Seva-mana, you should do the service in your mind. My dear mind, you pay attention to this. Seva-mana, prema kori asha. And you should have this desire for Krishna prema. You should do service. So many times we've commented this verse, which our acharyas often quote from the first canto of the Garuda Purana, where it's described that there's a definition of what seva means. Bhajit yesha vai dhatu, sevayam parikirtitaha tasmat seva budai prokta bhakti sadhana bhuyasi. That the bhaj ityesha vai dhatu, dhatu means the verbal root. So the verbal root of the word bhaj means seva, to render service. And therefore it says tasmat, therefore, seva budai prokta, that persons who are Buddha, intelligent persons, they should render service to Krishna with all endeavor. And this is why we render service to Gurudev. Gurudev is the servitor personality of Godhead. So bhakti means service. And the aspiration to serve the deity, that's cherished within the devotee's heart. But without love, that service can't please the deity. So we should have an aspiration, a desire to getting Krishna prema. And that aspiration has to take root very deeply in our heart. And so what is the hope? The hope to obtain prema means the hope to obtain service. Because service without love doesn't please Krishna. And to have love without service, that also has no meaning. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita describes in Adi chapter 7 that from this prema, the ruchi or the relishment of Krishna's service is attained. Prema hoite Krishna hoy, nija bhakti bas. It's by this Krishna prema Krishna hoya nija bhakta. Nija bhakta means to his devotees. Krishna becomes bhaktabas. He becomes submitted to his devotees. Prema hoiti paya, Krishna to seva-sanga ras. And from this Krishna prem comes this seva-sanga ras, the mellow of servitorship, the nectar of serving Krishna. So from that prema comes that thing. Sometimes devotees, we have a misunderstanding about the nature of service. We're doing service, and what generally we think of as Vaidhi Bhakti. That's a whole nother discussion I would like to drop in on, but it's a very big discussion. Leela Purushottam Prabhu, in our chat, I appreciate the comments you made about that. That's contains the essence of everything there. Anyway, real bhakti means Krishna prem, and that Krishna prem means doing service. We're doing service before that. Shushu Shoshadadana Vasudeva Katag Shamahap Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtana. We're doing service to Gurudev, because Gurudev is a connection to Krishna. And by rendering that service to Gurudev, we go from Vaidhi to Bhav to Prema. So previously, Narottam Das Thakur, in this Prema-bhakti-candrika, he said before, Prema Vina, Ana Nahi Chao. Don't desire anything else except for Krishna Prema. That's a very big thing. So in this section here, let's look a little deeper now at these verse today that we're studying from Narottam Das Thakur. Arasabha Parihari, give up everything. Everything you give up. Parama Ishvara Hari, Seva Manakori Prema As. You just want to render service and get prema to that person who's Parama Ishvara Hari. And so in this regard, even the devotees will give up the worship of God. In a beautiful example given in Ujjwal Nilamani, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Ratnakar, is the gopis at Paita, or actually the gopis at Chanda Sarovar. They were dancing in Ras Leela with Krishna, and then Krishna disappeared. And the gopis went searching for them, and Krishna decided he would play a trick on the gopis. So he hid himself in the bushes to see what they would do. And then from a distance, the gopis saw him, and he said, hey, look, there in the bushes, it's Krishna. Come on. And the gopis went running there. And then Krishna thought he'd play a further joke on the gopis. And so he manifested a four-armed form as Chaturbhuj Narayan. And the gopis, when they came closer, they looked at him and they said, oh, it's not Krishna, it's just God. And they said, oh, Dandavats Narayan, where is Krishna? And he was very mysterious, and they just went their way. And then later Radharani came, and Krishna couldn't keep those four arms. So in Sanskrit, the word Vishnu means Vyapana. Vyapana means that personality who possesses the habit, the ability, the quality of pervading everything. Now, Sanatana Goswami in his Tika, on the 6th verse of Damodarashtakam, which describes Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu, Ananta Vishnu, that Namo Deva Damodar, I'm offering my pranams to that Deva Damodar, who's Ananta Vishnu. He's the unlimited, all-pervading Vishnu. But Sanatana Goswami, in his commentary, he says this is not actually what the author is saying in the song. He's saying that there's no place where you're not situated, no heart that you don't dwell, you're everywhere. And he says that another meaning Sanatana Goswami says is that he's everywhere. Ananta Vishnu means that he's eternally performing all of his most confidential pastimes in all, the stress on the word all the secluded caves and groves of Giriraj Govardhan. This is how he's Ananta Vishnu, that he's doing his pastimes in all these different places. So we should understand that when Narottam Das Thakur is saying here, it sounds crazy to some religionists, Arasabha Parihari, give up everything else. Pradama Ishvara Hari, understand that Krishna, who's Govinda, who's Eka Braja Rajapuri, who's only living in Braj, he's Seva Mani Kori Prema As. He's the object of our service. He's the personality we want to develop praying for. And he's Parama Ishvara Hari. So indirectly, Amvayavyati Rekabhyam, yet Shat Sarvata Sarvata, either directly or indirectly in this case, Narottam Das Thakur is indicating that we should even, but by giving up everything, we should even give up the worship of Lord Vishnu, which is inconceivable and amazing. So in the 89th chapter, the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a very illustrative pastime story in this regard, how in Dwarka, there was one Brahmin was living there, very good Brahmin, very learned, very pious, very gentle person. And his wife gave birth to a child. So as soon as the child touched the ground, the child died. Now, in Vedic culture, the king is responsible for everything. In this culture today, we don't think like that. But that Brahmin took the child and he went to Maharaj Ugrasena's court. And he came there and he started criticizing Maharaj Ugrasena. How did this happen? Because you're duplicitous, you're greedy, you're an enemy of the Brahmins, you're such a rascal, you're not executing your real duties in the right way. And he criticized him and left. And so a year later, his wife gave birth to another child, another son. And again, the child died as soon as it touched the ground. And again, he went to the court of Maharaj Ugrasena and spoke harsh words. This happened 9 years in a row, every year. The 9th time that it happened, Arjuna happened to be there. And when he heard the Brahmin saying harsh things to Maharaj Ugrasena, Arjuna replied, Dhana Dharat Majat Prikta Yatta Sochanti Brahmanaha Tevai Rajanya Veshena Nata Jivanta Sumbaraha. He says that those persons who are rulers of the kingdom in which Brahmins are lamenting that they lost their wealth, they lost their wives or children, those persons are just Rajanya Veshena, they're just disguised, they're dressed up like kings. Rajena Veshena Nataha, Nata means an actor. They're just acting out this thing. And Asumbaraha, in this way, they're getting some money. And so then Arjuna, rather proudly, proclaimed to the Brahmin, I'm a Kshatriya, because that Brahmin was chastising all the Kshatriyas. He said all the Kshatriyas are useless. They're not strong at all. And it was painful for Arjuna. Hey, I'm a Kshatriya. He said, I'll protect your children. And he said, I vow, if I can't protect your children, then I'll jump in the fire. And then that Brahmin replied to him, and our acharyas have commented that it indicates Arjuna's pride. The Brahmin told him, he said, look, Lord Balaram, Krishna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, they couldn't save my sons. How are you going to do so? And so then Arjuna spoke in a way to try to give faith to that Brahmin, and he minimized Krishna and Balaram, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and he said, well, they don't have the Gandiva bow the way I do. They didn't defeat Lord Shiva in battle. They didn't satisfy him in battle. So the Brahmin was satisfied. And a year later, his wife was ready to give birth again. And this time the Brahmin called for Arjuna. And at that time, Arjuna offered pranams to Lord Shiva and chanted some mantras and strung his Gandiva. And Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book, he comments, he says that Arjuna didn't pray to Krishna because Arjuna was thinking, yeah, Krishna, he's good, but he's my bandhu, he's my friend. Now I need something powerful. I got to pray to God now. So he thought Krishna hadn't been able to help this Brahmin. So Arjuna thought, better that I pray to Lord Shiva. So then the first thing that Arjuna did was, with his arrows, he made a fence around the whole house, a big wall out of different arrows. But as soon as the Brahmin's wife, she gave birth, then the child disappeared. And then the Brahmin became really, really angry. Tadaha vipravijayam vinindam Krishna sanido modyam pashatame yoham shradade kliba katamam. He called Krishna, called Arjuna kliba. Kliba means a eunuch. It's really harsh words to give to a Kshatriya. And it's also really poking at Arjuna because Arjuna had been cursed to become a eunuch, which he had to fulfill in the court of during the 1 year exile the Pandavas had from their kingdom. So he was criticizing Arjuna in front of Krishna. He said, "How I'm so foolish? I'm taking the word of this eunuch and having faith in him." So Arjuna previously had been cursed by Urvasi to be a eunuch for a year. And so Arjuna later, he became Brihanala and he stayed in the court of Virata, the king of Matsya Desh. That's all described in the Mahabharata as a eunuch. But it's kind of really poking at him. So then the Brahmin, he said, look, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Balaram, and Krishna can't save my babies. So who can possibly protect him? This Arjuna's a liar. To hell with him. And to hell with his bow. Now, if Arjuna hadn't been hurt by his words of scorn and disdain about his person, certainly it must have hurt when the Brahmin criticized his bow, his Gandiva bow. That this Arjuna, he's so puffed up, he thinks he can take someone away. So then Arjuna, this is serious business, he used some mystic mantra and he went to the city of Samyamani, the abode of Yamaraj, and didn't find the baby. So then he went to the cities of Agnidev, Narita, Soma, Vayu, he went all over the universe, from the top to the bottom, and he couldn't find the child. So then Arjuna decided, well, I made this vow, I made this promise, so better I kill myself, I'll jump in the fire and commit suicide. And then Krishna stopped him and said, hey, Arjuna, I'll show you the sons, not just this last son, but I'll show you all the sons of the Brahmin. Don't kill yourself. This guy, he's criticizing us now, but soon he's going to glorify us. And so then he took Arjuna on his Dibya Rata, the Bhagavatam describes his Dibya Rata, his divine chariot. And on that chariot, they passed the 7 different islands, the middle part of the universe. They passed the local boundary. They entered in the region of darkness. And Prabhupada comments in the Krishna book that when they entered into that darkness, then Krishna's horses, they lost their way. And then Krishna threw Sudarshan to light up the way to go. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in the verse in the 89th chapter, 10th canto, he comments that Krishna's horses had descended from Vaikuntha to assist the Lord in his pastimes here. So because the Lord was acting like an ordinary person, the horses acted confused so they could enhance the drama. And then they came to the Brahma-jyoti. And that Brahma-jyoti, the light was so bright, Arjuna had to close his eyes, put his hands over his eyes. So this pastime is told in the Harivamsa Purana also. And in the Harivamsa Purana, Krishna tells Arjuna, Brahma Teja Mayam Dibyam Mahat Yat Drishtavanasi Aham Sabharata Shrestha Mat Tejas Tat Sanatanam. That this Brahman effulgence that you see here, this is actually myself. Aham Sabharata Shrestha Mat Tejas Tat Sanatanam. It's my eternal effulgence, Sanatan Mat Tejas, my effulgence, which is Sanatan, eternal. Prakriti Sa Mamam Para. Vyakta sanatani tam pravishya bhavantiha mukta yoga vid uttamaha. And this Brahma-jyoti, it comprises my prakriti, my eternal material energy, but also my para, my spiritual energy, which is both vyakta, avyakta, both manifest and unmanifest. So this is the goal of the yogis. And then they entered into this huge body of water, and they saw in the middle of that water, there was a palace, and a huge palace. And And there was Ananta Sesh with thousands of hoods, and Mahavishnu was laying there on Ananta Sesh with all of his associates and paraphernalia and things, the Sudarshan Chakra and Gada, Pada, Padma, etc., all of his different things. And when they arrived there, Vavanda Atmanamanantam Achuto, Jishnu's Chattadarshana Jakta Sadvasa, Tav Aha Bhuma, Parameshtinam Prabhur, Vedanjali Sasmitam Urjaya Gira. At that time, Krishna offered obeisances to that form, which actually, the vandana, he's doing his vandana of Atmanam. He's actually offering obeisances to himself. And when Arjuna saw that form of Mahavishnu, he was really astonished. And so he also offered obeisances to him. And then at that time, Lord Mahavishnu, he spoke to them in a very solemn voice. And Mahavishnu, he told them that Dvijatmaja, maybe I'll put this verse on the board, it's a good verse. Dvijatmaja mayuvayo didrikshana mayapanat bhuvi dharma guptaye kalavatirnav avanir barav suran hatveha bhuyas tvarayat datam antime. Mahavishnu said that, look, I brought these boys here, Dvija Atmaja, I brought the sons of these Brahmins, this Brahman here, because I wanted to have your darshan. I wanted to see the two of you. Now, as soon as you finish killing the demons, then you should quickly come back here to me. So, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he explains in his commentary that Arjuna was thinking, this is amazing. He thought, even though I'm just an ordinary jiva, by the mercy of Krishna, I've seen God, the root of everything. And then in a moment, he kind of pauses, and Arjuna's thinking to himself, but why did Vishnu say that he took away the Brahman's children out of a desire to see Krishna? Why would God want to hanker to see his own expansion? Which is what he's saying. So he concluded that he's always been wanting to see Krishna and myself. So then if he wanted that, why couldn't he just come and see Krishna in Dwarka? So Mahavishnu is the creator of the universe. He can do anything he wants. He can come to Dwarka very easily. And moreover, why Mahavishnu, who's the master of all the Brahmins, why is he tormenting this Brahman year after year and taking away his children? This is a very crazy thing. Why he could have just sent some servant to kidnap the Brahman's sons. Why did he himself have to come to Dwarka to do it? He says, was it so difficult that no one but Vishnu himself could do it? So he was thinking like this, and he was confused. So he asked Krishna then to explain what's the real facts of the matter. And Krishna replied, and this is described in the Harivamsa Purana. Krishna said to Arjuna, let's see here. Go ahead and put this verse in the board. Krishna told Arjuna, Madarshanartam te balahritastena mahatmana vipartam eshyete Krishna madsamipam nachanyata. That he wanted to see me. That's why he stole the children. And this was his purpose in doing that. He wanted to have darshan of Krishna. That's why Lord Vishnu stole those children. Because that form, Sridhar Swami comments in his Bhagavad-deepika, that form of Krishna is param padam. It's a supreme position. And even the Lord of Vaikuntha wanted to see that. And therefore he said, Vijatmaja me yuvayo didikshana mayopinata bhuvi dharma guptaye. That I stole the Brahman's sons because they wanted to see you. So our acharyas have described that this story illustrates the supreme position of Krishna and how Krishna is even superior to Lord Vishnu. Very big thing to say that Krishna is superior even to God. And so Narottam Das Thakur, in this verse today, he's saying, Arsabha Parihari, give up everything else, even the worship of Lord Vishnu. And this is described also by Raghunath Das Goswami in his Siksa and many different places in Acharya's writings, except that Krishna is Parama Ishvara Hari and desire to have prema for him. So many places our Acharyas, Baladi Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jaiva Dharma, Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they all quote a verse from the Vishnu Yamala. Mohoschanda Brahmo Ruksha Rasatakama Ulbana Lolata Mada Matsar Ye Hingsa Keda Parishyamo Asapjam Kroda Akanksha Asanka Vishva Vibramaha Vishatmam Paripiksha Dosha Astada Dosita, that there's 18 different faults in a conditioned soul. But paradoxically, Krishna, out of these 18 different faults, which I can go ahead and just quickly list them. The first is moha, madness or delusion. This is a great fault of the conditioned soul. Tundra, being exhausted, sleepy, being lazy. Brahma, making some mistakes, being confused. Ruksha rasata, to have rough, exploitive dealings. Kama ulbana, to have very terrible lust. Lolata, to be fickle and restless. Mada, which means intoxication or pride and arrogant. Matsarja, it means to be envious or jealous. Hingsa means violence. Keda means sorrow, depression. Parishram, to become tired by doing some troubling work. Asatya means to lie. Kroda means to be angry. Akanksha means to become hungry or hankering for something, to not feel satisfied. Asanka means to doubt or have some worry, some concern about something. Vishva Vibrama means universal folly or some absorption in worldly things. Vishva. Vishamatva means to be partial, have prejudice, certain person. And Parapeksha, the 18th quality, means to be dependent on others. So the Vishnu Yamala says that this is what distinguishes Vishnu or God from the living entities, that the living entities have these 18 different faults. Now, paradoxically, Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and these other acharyas that I mentioned, they've explained that Krishna has 16 of these 18 faults. I gave a seminar about this in New Brajadam some years ago. I won't go into that right now. It's a very sweet subject, though. Krishna has all of these different bad qualities except for two. Ruksha rasata means to have very rough dealings. Krishna doesn't have that quality. And kama, ulbana, means to have very terrible, intense lust. Krishna doesn't have that kind of lust. But otherwise, paradoxically, Krishna has his 16 qualities, and it's these 16 faults that Krishna has that make him greater than God. And therefore, Narottam Das Thakur is saying that we should just reject everything else and simply wholly solely worship Krishna, worship Govinda, seva manakori prema as, eka braja rajapuri. We should worship Krishna, especially in Braj, Govinda Rasika Bari, because he's very, very expert. He's Rasika Bara. And how do we know that he's Rasik? Because Srimati Radharani is next to him. That's the evidence, that's the proof that Krishna is so very, very Rasik. So we should worship him in that way. And we should desire prema for him. We have to become a kantik. We have to become one-pointed. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in Chaitanya Siksamrita, he explains that when a devotee has devotion or attachment to any other form of the Lord other than Swayam Rup Govinda, Krishna who's avatari in Vrindavan, then Bhakti Devi is not fully satisfied. And he gives many examples of that. Someone may be attached to the impersonal Brahman, they may be attached to Paramatma, they may be attached to worship of Vishnu or Dwarkadish Krishna in Dwarka, but Bhakti Devi is not fully satisfied with that devotee, and therefore she doesn't fully reveal Krishna's form, because Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parajayate, the only way that we can have bhakti is by the mercy of Bhakti Devi, by the mercy of the devotees. And Krishna says, Bhakti Mama Bhajanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvataha. The only way to understand me is through that bhakti. But Bhaktivinoda explains that if we are attached to a form of the Lord in Vaikuntha or even in Dwarka with the Mahishis, the queens, then a lesser manifestation of the Lord will come to our heart. So therefore, Narottam Das Thakur is stressing in this verse, Arasabha Hari. I'll go ahead and put this up on the board again, this verse. Such a nice verse today. And we'll conclude our discussion today with looking over this verse again. Arasabha Hari. Give up everything, everyone else. Parama Ishvara Hari. Worship, you're looking to worship someone who's the Param Ishvara, that's Krishna. You worship him. And how do we do that? Seva mana. We want to have this attitude of service, Kori Prema Asha. And the seva and prema go together. This should be our asha, our desire. Eka Braja Raja Pure, Govinda Rasika Bhari. We should worship Krishna as Govinda in Braj, because he's Rasika Shekhar, he's the supreme Rasik. We know that because he's always a Srimati Radharani. Koroho Sadai Abhilas. This should be our constant desire. So as we were saying in the beginning of our discussion, to accomplish this, we want to associate with devotees who have a similar mood. And that's a very rare thing, because it's such an extraordinary thing to be one-pointed in this way, simply for Krishna, but this, for Krishna and Braj, but this is our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. This is the line of our six Goswamis. This is a line of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and our Srila Prabhupada. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And if anybody has any comments or questions or something in the chat here, Krishna Kun said, who said that Bhakti Devi is not fully satisfied? That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur who says that.
Thank you very much. Can I ask my other question also? Or she can go ahead.
Okay. Or she go ahead, Krishna
No,
Kun.
go ahead, Krishna Kun.
Okay, then I ask my other question. Maybe you said it, but you posed the question and I didn't hear the answer. What was the reason that Vishnu didn't just come to see Krishna elsewhere, like in Dwarka or elsewhere? Why did he get Krishna, who is superior to him by his own admission, by his desire to see him? Why
Because
did he get Krishna?
if he would have done that, then it would have spoiled everything. Because Krishna was doing his Nara Leela, acting like an ordinary person. And then all of a sudden, God shows up and asks Krishna's secretary, look, can I make an appointment with him? Yeah, you have to wait out here for an hour to see him. Okay, I'll sit and wait. If God's going to sit in the waiting room to get a chance to speak to Krishna, it's going to spoil that sweetness, which is also there in Dwarka to some extent.
Okay.
Is that helpful, Kun?
Yeah, he's good. Good, thank you.
Okay.
It's sweet.
Hare Krishna. And Orshi.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna, everyone. I would like to ask how to be ekantic if in a different relation, not between Krishna's different from, but between Guru and Krishna, because there is a general, let's say, competition between them, who loves more each other, and our focus can be distinguished between them. So it seems sometimes. So how can finally overcome to this and to be ekantik and just focus on Krishna, if he would like to focus, for example, and to serve Gurudev. So it's just always, you should go there, and it's a competition of love, actually.
I would suggest is just apparent. It's aparavichar. It's an apparent consideration. It's not an absolute situation. In the Priti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami says that Chittanam, Sevanam Chittanu Brittihi, Sevanam Chittanu Brittihi, that to render service means to understand the chitta, or the consciousness of the person that we're serving. And Jiva Goswami again in Gopal Champu, a verse my Guru Maharaj used to quote, he says that if someone is worshiping Guru, but they're not doing Krishna bhajan, then that worship that they're offering to their Guru becomes like a knife in the heart of that Guru. It's not accepted. It's not appreciated. Therefore, Tate Krishna Bhaji Kori Guru is Sevan. That the way we worship Guru is by doing Krishna bhajan. He's not like sometimes the demigods, or sometimes some devotees with misunderstandings who want to accept worship for themselves. As we were saying, that's ajanta vidi purvakam. That's avidi purvakam. It's wrong to do like that. Krishna is a supremely worshipable person. We worship Krishna, and by worshiping Krishna, then we want to ask Krishna, please, may I have service to your Swamini, to your Srimati Radharani, and we do that through Gurudev. So it's an apparent consideration if we say that they're worshiping Guru means more than worshiping Krishna. There's different stories. We tell the story of Bandhu. You probably heard me tell that. I told that a number of times. This last 3 months, I told it at least twice, I think. And how Bandhu was ready to reject Krishna because Krishna wasn't going to give darshan to his Guru. So that seems very wonderful that's such good Guru Bhakti. That's an exceptional, unusual case. And that's not what Guru recommends. If we worship Guru more than Krishna or as much as Krishna, that's called atistuti ninda. It's actually a kind of criticism. It's a kind of fault that we're doing. Atistuti, it means too much. Because Gurudev is not that. Gurudev, we see he's Sakshat Duridvin. We should see that he's non-different from Krishna because Krishna's message is coming through that personality, not because he's Sakshat Duridvin, because he's bestowed, he's endowed with the potency of the Lord, not because there's some competition between them. There can't be a competition between them. If there's a competition between them and someone says that you should worship me and not Krishna, then that person is not Guru. That person is just bogus. Is that helpful?
Yes, however, maybe my terms I used was not proper because it's actually not a competition what I wanted to describe, but a loving dealing between, that Krishna wants to love better the Guru and the Guru wants love better more Krishna. So in this way, I meant.
I give an example. Sometimes you may have heard that. What if somebody came running into the room right now and said, hey, Orsi, oh my God, it's an amazing thing. I just got a message and Krishna's standing outside your house right now and he wants to see you. You should come. And what would you do? I oftentimes ask this question to devotees in programs. Honestly, a lot of times they become confused. They've never thought about that. Krishna's going to come and ask to see me. Wow. And finally, I push them a little bit. Usually they say, well, of course I would go. I would jump it. And I responded, no, I would not go. But I would find my Gurudev and I would put my Gurudev in front of me. And then I would go. Because what am I going to do with Krishna? and I give an example. Am I going to ask him, how's the weather? What's the news in Vrindavan? Any demons? What am I going to say to Krishna? I'm such a useless, demoniac, sinful person. And therefore, I'll keep my Gurudev in front of me. But we don't distinguish between Guru and Krishna in the sense that Guru should be the emissary of Krishna. And if Guru is not the emissary, if there seems to be some distinction, then that person, he's not Guru. Guru means that person who's the postman, who's just coming to deliver the post from Krishna. And that's such an important thing. And this is the essence I feel, of the problem Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, Yajancha Vidipurvakam, that this worship of the devatas is wrong. Although Rupa Goswami clearly says in Bhakti Rasamrita Singh, we should worship the devatas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in several places, we should worship the devatas. It causes pride, and it's offensive to not worship the devatas. But we give respect to them in the same way we give respect to a temple president, to a GBC man, to a senior devotee or something, because they're doing the work of Srila Prabhupada, they're doing the work of our Gurudev. But it doesn't mean that we start worshiping them as a superior person. Is that all helpful, Marcy? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Leela Purushottam Prabhu, you want to make some comment? You can go ahead and read your comment. I haven't looked at it, but see.
No, you won't be pleased.
Hare Krishna. Anyway, don't read that one. Maharaj is very, he's actually,
well,
sometimes what somebody does when they glorify someone else, it may not be that the person has those kind of qualities. It might be, it might not be. When Srila Prabhupada sometimes told devotees, you're the incarnation of Bhukta Shibirshi, or that you've all, your eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Was that true every time? Prabhupada said, you're all pure devotees. All my disciples are pure devotees. I know of one sannyasi who became a male striptease dancer in a bar and died of AIDS. Okay, is he a pure devotee also? What does Srila Prabhupada mean by that? I would suggest that several things are going on. They're saying that Prabhupada is speaking like that to encourage everybody that we should all become like that. And he's giving some opportunity. It's a kind of blessing that you can actually become pure devotees if you just keep going down this path. That's my humble understanding. I have a comment on that. You have something else you want to say?
yeah, I don't really know how to formulate it. Just when you were on the beginning of your kata, you were stressing the point that we should always seek a higher sangha. And I somehow met with that feeling of like the bell started ringing, like watch out, that sounds controversial, no, because the history, it's quite clear. And so I really don't know how to put a question, actually. Just these were my thoughts, like how to encourage devotees to be to live with this understanding that I always desire to have the higher association, the guidance of Bhajana Vigna devotee, like that, and not being controversial in a sense, like, pulling someone out of the movement or into the movement or out of the, you know what I mean, you know what I'm speaking about.
I remember in Los
how does
Angeles,
this?
I belonged to a men's group. It's kind of a new age kind of thingy that some of us were doing in Los Angeles. I belonged to that group, and everybody would come together, and it was almost all Prabhupada disciples and some of the most senior devotees in the temple. And it was very sweet, loving sangha of men. We would read something together and discuss some shastra and talk about different personal problems and whatever in our lives. And so then later I came to my Guru Maharaj, and we went back to Los Angeles, and they invited me to one of the meetings because I'd been gone, because they're a tight group of devotees. And so they were asking me, so what's new in your life? And I'm kind of like a new fanatic, new convert to a new religion. And so I said, wow, the association with higher devotees is so important. And I was speaking like that. And I remember the temple president who was sitting there, the person who was the temple president when I joined, very senior devotee, very caring for me and always helping me. He was quiet and he looked confused. And then he said, but I thought we were all higher devotees. Like that. Because that's what have been taught in practice in our movement. Anybody who, especially the temple president, anybody who's a senior devotee is a higher devotee. And certainly that's true in one sense. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says something which, as you're pointing out, is controversial. And let's start with the controversy part. Sometimes Vaishnavas, they go outside of ISKCON to other Vaishnavas. And we've seen that. I'll be so controversial, I'll even mention names. Some devotees that went to some of Prabhupada's godbrothers, like Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And later, someone spoke to my Guru Maharaj about that. And my Guru Maharaj commented on that phenomena from the perspective of someone who'd been born and raised as a Gaudiya Vaishnava and understood Shastra Siddhanta. And he said, there's no harm. There's no offense in going, like I said, but they should not have been public about it. Because there were some senior devotees who went, and by being public about it, then it hurt the discipline in the society, and different devotees left. And I've noted that in Gaudiya Math, and then Gaudiya Math has a much different culture than ISKCON in many ways. In Puri, we sometimes go for programs. We're invited to the Disappearance Festival of Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, or Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, or Narayan Maharaj. And you go to those programs, and all the Gaudiya Maths are there. And there's usually some ISKCON devotees too. We don't have that kind of culture so much in ISKCON. We used to have it in Vrindavan. But what happened, some of those people came and some of their sentimental followers started canvassing devotees to go. And that created a disturbance in the society. Devotees didn't like that. But I've marked that in those kind of functions, those Gaudiya Math devotees, they understand the proper etiquette. I'm not talking about just younger, new converts or something to their group, but these are older, mature devotees, and they don't act in a sentimental, fanatical kind of way like that. So that's a point. Another point is given in by Narahari Sarkar in his Krishna Bhajan Amrita, where he says that there's no harm in going to someone else to take siksa from your guru. He says, but you should go back to your guru and you should speak to him what you got from that siksa guru. You should check it, and you should get permission from him. My Guru Maharaj spoke about that also. And the comment too is there that if you're going to, if the siksa guru is a genuine Vaishnav, what to do if your guru tells you not to go there. And the comment was made that a bona fide guru wouldn't do that. He wouldn't tell, but it's not so simplistic either, because I've seen some gurus tell their disciples not to go here or there, not because maybe even the guru, the person they wanted to go to was bona fide, was an exalted Vaishnava, but as Srila Prabhupada told Mukunda Maharaj, when Prabhupada was going back to India, they were confused. What should they do? They didn't know how to survive without Prabhupada. And they said, Prabhupada, should we go to one of your godbrothers? And Prabhupada said, no, because you'll just become confused. And I've seen the same thing. Anantadas Pandit of Radhakuni used to tell his followers, don't go to ISKCON, don't go to Gaudiya Math, because you'll become confused. So this principle is there. As our society becomes more mature, it'll be easier to deal with. But as we have so many neophyte members, it's very difficult to give respect sometimes to someone from Gaudiya Math or something, because people they're so sentimental and so neophyte, they may leave, and that'll be detrimental to their own bhakti. You wanted to further comment something?
Yeah, I was just, you suggested, one by one, you answered all my points that I wanted to add to the discussion or ask further. But to the last point, I remember a specific case of my friend who asked his spiritual master, Diksha Guru, for the association of Actually, the ex-friend of him, who later left ISKCON and took sannyas somewhere else, and they knew each other. And but you suggested some reasons why even bona fide guru may not recommend to his disciple to associate with Vaishnava. And his reasoning behind it was, if I like he even expressed to him, I have a trust in that Vaishnava. I know he's Paka Vaishnava, he's bona fide. But if I allow you, then I'm afraid that you will lose the sangha locally where you live and where you are supposed to do the service, and devotees will have the tendency to reject you on account that you're going to listen outside of the institution. So that would be quite interesting for me to hear your comments. If that would, like, it's kind of a like it's kind of a protective instruction from the guru, but isn't there too much of institutional, I don't know how to say
Institutional mentality?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, again, I know of Babaji's. I mentioned Antadas Pandit used to tell his disciples like that. I know of Gaudiya Math acharyas who told their disciples, don't go here and there. There was one devotee who came to Bhubaneswar and wanted to hear from my Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj found out that he was initiated by one disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And Guru Maharaj said, you have to go back to your guru. And he said, no, Maharaj, please, I want to hear from you. And Guru Maharaj said, you're not allowed to hear from me unless you get a letter of permission from your guru, your Diksha Guru. Yes, Maharaj. So he approached his Diksha Guru for a letter, and his Diksha Guru told him, no, you're not allowed. You have to come back here. And that could be for a number of reasons. It may be also that the guru wants to protect the seva-sanga, because guru means someone who's engaging in service, and he's built a mission of persons who are doing service. And if some key person goes then that's going to hurt their service. Another inherent point, a couple points that we see in this is that Narahari Chakravarti, he's saying that one should ask permission from their Diksha Guru. Now, someone may say, what is the necessity of that? Well, there's an absolute necessity of that, because that guru is someone that you've gone to and said, formally, you are my guru. I take shelter of you. I'm following your instructions. So now if I don't take his guidance and permission for this, it means I'm rejecting him. So if I have faith in my guru still, then I have to ask for permission from my guru. And then one will see how that works out. And in some extreme cases, it may even be that the Diksha Guru is offensive or critical. And then you'll see that that's a very painful, difficult thing. Is that okay?
Yeah, then how is it done when the physical presence of Guru, Diksha Guru is not available and you still live with that need of guidance?
That's a real controversial question. I've gotten that quite a lot. I can only speak for myself. I'm not an absolute person. But when my Guru Maharaj left, many of my godbrothers also left, because they felt the need, which I can respect and understand, to go to someone that they consider to be an Uttam Vaishnav for association and guidance. Certainly I respect it, and our Guru Maharaj certainly stressed that so much. But several Gaudiya Math gurus, acharyas, privately told me that all they did was commit offense unless they had permission from their guru. Aside from that, once one of my dear godbrothers was encouraging me that I should also go with him to this person outside, who was a very wonderful Vaishnav who I'd met, and I know my Guru Maharaj appreciated, but Guru Maharaj never told me to go there. And so I replied to him, I said, this is nice, but Guru Maharaj gave me a service. Now, if I leave that service to go to this other sadhu, is my service going to continue? I've seen so many of my godbrothers go there, and they've given up their service. And he became quiet. He didn't say anything. And I said, my personal understanding is that Guru Maharaj wants me to have higher association more than I want it myself. And if I show that I'm nishta and I'm fixed in Gurudev's service, then he'll send me association. I don't know where to find it. I don't know how to perceive it. But if I please him, he'll send it to me. And conversely, if I discard the trust that he gave me, the responsibility that he gave me to do a particular service, if I throw that away, then why will he bless me? Why will he? Oh, he's so intelligent. He found someone who's higher than me. He may think, so let him go there. That's okay.
So then, but in practice, such a situation will depend on the inner response in your heart and the level of your sincerity and honesty to your relationship with your spiritual master, right?
It's always like that, isn't it? And and not to judge. It's not that I can come and say, everybody who left, they're all offenders, except for me, because I stayed. It's not my business to judge them either. That's wrong. I don't know. Some people might criticize our Srila Prabhupada and say that just see, he left the Gaudiya Math and he went overseas and he started his own Sangha. And in some sense, that's true.
Yeah.
He was working with Bhakti-candrika Maharaj before in that, but he gave that up. So it's not such a simple thing. It's really a question of the heart. And for me, the next question comes in, who is good to associate with and who's not? Are these persons who've left, are they good association or not? That's not so cut and dried either. I found I have to look in my heart and see if they're criticizing devotees, especially in Prabhupada's seva-sanga. I can't tolerate that. I don't tolerate they're criticizing anybody in any sangha. If they're criticizing, I can't associate with it. I have zero appreciation for what they've done. I don't know, that's their choice. But sometimes I know a few cases. I have one sannyasi godbrother who left for one Maharaj, and that Maharaj left his body. Then he went to another one, took sannyas from him, and that one left his body. He was a personal servant of my Guru Maharaj at one point, and also these other two Vaishnavas. And he's so broad-minded. He never criticizes ISKCON. He's very encouraging, very loving to me. I think he's good association. But that's my personal feeling. It's not something I'm going to say, this is the absolute statement that 2 + 2 = 4, and that means that Leela Purushottam is bona fide association, and we'll make a law about the ISKCON law. Leela Purushottam is bona fide. So that's ridiculous. It's a personal thing.
And also quite practical, usable tester for the sadhak would be if that sangha with that Vaishnava increases your nishta and faith into your Gurudev.
This is exactly what
you hear in that association, oh, probably your Diksha Guru is of a lower caliber, and you can get something more in my Sangha, then it's like a serious warning.
It makes my blood boil. It makes my blood boil when I hear that. My Gurudev is a person who accepted me. My Gurudev gave me everything. I don't know if my Gurudev is high or low because I'm so fallen, I can't tell. But all I know is my Gurudev is my everything. And I'm not going to hear any kind of nonsense talk like that.
And in that sense, it's quite usable and easy for any sadhaka. I do listen from this Vaishnava. Does my faith in my Gurudev increase, or is it attacked? Is it in danger? You can probably easily judge that for yourself.
Recently, we had, I think it was a disappearance day of Srila Bhakti-candrika Maharaj, appearance or disappearance, one or the other. And he was a sannyas guru of Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's close friend. When he left this world, Prabhupada said we should put his disappearance day on our calendar. And it was Srila Bhakti-candrika Maharaj. One of his main teachings was exactly what you're just saying just now, that he taught that if someone, the qualification, he said, of a Siksha guru is to connect you more with your Diksha guru. And he said, if the Siksha guru doesn't connect you closer to your Diksha guru, then he's not a he's not a guru, he's not even a Vaishnava. I like that very much. That's the principle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Let's see. Krishna Koni, you want to say something, Krishna Koni? You had your hand up for a long time. And I think Raseshwar.
Yeah, I had my, sorry. Raseshwar, you want to go ahead? Raseshwar, go ahead.
Please, Madhavi, you go ahead. I'll speak after you.
And then Marupati, I think you had something too.
I put down my hand because, as Lila Purushottam said, you answered bit by bit most of the things that I had.
But not everything.
Well, I have to say that I am still, I wouldn't say that I'm confused, but I have like something in my heart, something uneasiness in my heart about minimizing what Prabhupada's gift is to us who try to follow his direct disciples by going to higher Vaishnavas, and maybe they are higher, like objectively speaking, if there is such a thing in spiritual life. Maybe some of these Vaishnavas outside ISKCON might be higher, like objectively speaking, than some of the initiated disciples of Srila Prabhupada. But what I understand is that, and I could be misunderstanding it, that's why I'm talking now. My understanding is that they can even maybe present Shastric understanding, even like Goswami's understanding, Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, better or more exactly in some ways than some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but they don't have that connection with Srila Prabhupada, and I feel that devotees might be missing out on Srila Prabhupada's mercy and on the simplicity, which means that Srila Prabhupada had. Srila Prabhupada I still haven't found that quote from the Bhagavatam, but I know that it's there. I will find it, where Srila Prabhupada explains that realized knowledge means that someone is able to give knowledge to his audience in such a way that it's relevant for them. And I mean, Prabhupada put it in his Om Pranam mantra, which very unusually he composed himself, that his mission is to save us. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. And I just feel that maybe devotees, by going to Acharya's teachings, kind of jumping over Srila Prabhupada in this sense, through so-called higher Vaishnavas, and maybe they are higher. I'm not saying so-called in the wrong sense. I'm just saying that by going to them, maybe devotees are missing out on Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And I have a concern about this. And maybe I'm just too neophyte to understand this, and I need to be corrected.
Okay, so I want some comments about that. That's very good mentality. It's a very good mood. But if we want to inscribe that on the wall and make that an institutional standard, I would say there may be problems. First of all, theoretically, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers might know Srila Prabhupada better than Prabhupada's disciples. It's possible. And I'm not pointing out to any particular person or anything. There's an institutional side which is necessary, which Guru Maharaj stressed many times, that we should not leave ISKCON, and if someone's going to some outside guidance, they should keep that hidden. There's a need for that in the external institutional side, but if we only stress that side, then that may also cause problems. Then I'm here and then I'm good. Being a good person means that I'm following the local authorities, and I may be putting that before I do the principle of bhakti. So what we want to always put first and foremost is the principle of bhakti. With Guru Maharaj, one day in 1994, I'd just taken shower. I was getting ready to go to the altar to worship, do my worship of Jagannath. I was putting to rest every night. And this devotee came running in the room, and he said that Guru Maharaj wants to see you. And I was confused. I said, well, I can't do that because I have to go on the altar right now for Jagannath. He said, no, you're not. Somebody else is doing that service. And tonight, Guru Maharaj wants you. So I went there, and Guru Maharaj said, so from tonight, I want you to be my personal servant. Yes, Guru Maharaj. And so I'm sitting in the room with him, just the two of us. And you can maybe imagine I was a little nervous. It was a big thing. All of a sudden, I just thrown into the deep end of the swimming pool with Guru Maharaj. And I was reading or chanting or something. And Guru Maharaj was doing some writing and suddenly stopped. And he started speaking to me in a very intimate, affectionate way, which in retrospect, I feel he was speaking to help me to be more peaceful and with the situation. And he told me about himself. And he said, I was here in Bhubaneswar for so many years, I had no association. So sometimes I was going to Kathak, to the Gaudiya Math temple there, and I was reading some of the books and associating with some of the devotees. And he told me, then one day, one of the devotees there told me, oh, it's good you're coming here because the books of your Guru Maharaj, they don't have everything. They don't have all the Siddhanta, so you should come. And Guru Maharaj told me, he said, that was very offensive. So I never went there again. And I had no association. And he said, so I was here. And then one day, this Bhakti Charan Das Babaji, who was a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, showed up and at the temple. And Guru Maharaj said, like a child, he said, I don't know why, but he liked me. He liked me very much. Guru Maharaj said like that. And then suddenly he started speaking and so many things. And then I realized, Guru Maharaj told me, I realized Srila Prabhupada sent him. So that's the point that I just wanted to get to with you. I think what you're saying is a good general thing. It's even a good institutional policy, because we do need to have institutional policies. We need to put rules on the wall for everybody who joins. But the nice thing about rules is that sometimes you can break them, and then they're very sweet. So there always has some exceptions sometimes. And as long as somebody doesn't cause trouble, you and I were once in Belgium, I don't know if you remember, at a Sunday feast program, and I got a phone call from Bhubaneswar. And the call was because the devotee was asking me, well, there's this godbrother who left and went to the Gaudiya Math, and now he's coming to the temple, and should we allow him in the temple or should we not? And I told him, I said, it's a very simple thing. If he's a problem, then he's a problem. Don't let him in. And if he's not a problem, then he's not a problem. I said, I don't care if somebody's a Prabhupada disciple in a GBC. If they come to your temple and they're causing problems, then they're a problem. And you may have to ask them not to come, regardless of their institutional status. Right? So the real question is, are they causing a problem, or are they being helpful? And as Srila Purushottam was pointing out, if someone is actually helping us to come closer to Srila Prabhupada, encouraging us in our faith in Prabhupada, encouraging us in our service and being fixed in Prabhupada's mission, I think that's a good thing. And there are some Vaishnavas like that. Of course, it also depends on the maturity of the young devotee who's going to see them. Are they going like a little lost soul? Maharaj, please guide me. And now you're a higher person. We should be very fixed in our Gurudev. So you wanted to add something, I can see, Krishna Kron. Go ahead.
I somehow didn't mention the other side of the coin, that sometimes an institutional policy, like don't go anywhere outside ISKCON because it's forbidden, whatever, that can also make us really complacent. Like, yeah, Prabhupada said we can go back to Godhead. And then it's kind of like you don't really make an endeavor.
And we may also
don't have the 2 inches, you only have the counting on mercy, but you don't make the endeavor.
And then we may not give respect to someone who may be a higher Vaishnav.
Yeah. Yeah.
Krishnadas Babaji, Prabhupada said he was a Paramahamsa. He was coming and associating in ISKCON. Prabhupada appreciated him. But if we said only Prabhupada and none of his godbrothers are bona fide, then we wouldn't have had association with Krishnadas Babaji. B.B. Govinda Maharaj and so many devotees had wonderful association with him.
Yeah. What about things that Prabhupada said, which are slightly different from actual Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta?
Just like Orsi posted that thing the other day where Prabhupada is apparently not distinguishing between Rupanuga and Ragatmika and Raga. Yeah, between Ragatmika and Raganuga. That was an error in the editing of Nectar Devotion. But some people want to immortalize that and say that no, that was the correct thing. But if you look in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's very clear what said. Nayendra Prabhu was making that point therefore. So we should just be so fixed that avidyavasa vidyava guru eva janardana margastra vyapya margastra guru eva param gati. That whether my Gurudev knows proper Sanskrit of this term or doesn't know this term, he's still my everything because he's accepted me and I want to serve him. It's not just some informational thing that I'm coming here for. I mean, I want to have someone who knows better information than you know. Go ahead.
So when the disciple has this attitude and he's the personification of Guru Nishta, to live with that phrase, but his guru maybe, I don't think it's a problem if his guru doesn't have so much detailed theoretical Siddhantic knowledge, but it is a problem if he doesn't have the realization to take the disciple further after some point. So is it that Krishna will, no, not Krishna, I guess in our case, Srila Prabhupada will kind of make up for what we need, Yogakshemam Vaham Yaham, or is it that he makes up for what we need in terms of sending us so-called higher association, and at some point we go to another Vaishnava, or rather another Vaishnava comes to us and offers us guidance which is appropriate for us at that time, and we understand that it's appropriate. And how do we understand it if we are so nishtha to our guru?
Well, therefore, the first principle is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. We have to purify our heart. Because when our heart is purified, then we'll understand, oh, this is my Gurudev. This is Srila Prabhupada coming to me. And we may understand this other thing, this is wrong. We have faith in our Gurudev. Now, a real question may come, what if your Gurudev's not bona fide? Not just that he doesn't know Siddhanta, but what if he's a deviant in some way or something? Again, you don't have to worry about that. And it's not that you have to go and listen to everybody on the internet and see what everybody's saying and what the vote is. How many people, 50 people say that he's bogus, therefore he must be bogus. I have an internet vote. It's not that we ascertain things like that, but if we're sincere, by our sincerity, Krishna will reveal to us at some point that there's something wrong. And then we may ask Gurudev at that time, and then Gurudev may answer in such a way that we see, oh, this is not correct, what he's saying. And then we may offer obeisances, and we're offering obeisances to the principle of Krishna. Because I accepted this person as Guru because it's a principle of Krishna Bhakti. I saw Krishna speaking to them, but now I no longer see Krishna speaking to them. So out of respect and etiquette, I offer my pranams to them. And I beg forgiveness and I go somewhere else and I don't ever criticize them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let me go to Risheshwar. Is that okay, Krishna Karan?
Please, thank you.
Okay, and then Leela Purushottam, we had some, I think Madhupati Prabhu had some things too. I was seeing some comments coming and going. Okay. Risheshwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, very amazing class, Prabhuji. And I'm sorry that I skipped some few sessions, and very grateful to you for this Kartik Yatra. So, Narottam Das Thakur states, and it was a long doubt in my mind, that if one chants the holy name incessantly, even the heart will not melt in love unless once receive the mercy of the Vaishnava. Then you have heard it about. Now the point comes, I was wondering that how the independent potency of the holy name, like we call it Nam Swatantrata, is the potency of holy name. How, what is the theological relation between the Nam and the devotee here, Vaishnava Kripa? Because the Nam itself, Prabhupada says 99% spiritual life depends on chanting. So, and of course, as offenseless chanting, but how to reconcile the independent potency of the holy name with the dependence of sadhaka on Vaishnava Kripa, especially? How we can reconcile, if, for example, as I think Krishna Gun Mata is also mentioning, for example, we have a lot of devotees who are not connected. Even my friends are there, not connected to ISKCON. They're not connected to ISKCON, but they have Guru. They are chanting, they're taking the Naam very seriously, but they're not receiving Vaishnava Kripa. But they're chanting. So is there any hope for them, or Krishna says rejects outward? No, you are not qualified at all to enter my realm. Any light you can throw on it?
Yeah. So first of all, we don't see a difference between Guru and Krishna. We don't see a difference between Sadhu and Krishna. In Jagadananda Pandit, in the Prema-bhakti-candrika, which is ascribed to Jagadananda Pandit, it's written there that Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam e Matra Chai. That all that I want is Sadhu Sangha and Krishna Nam, because you can't have one without the other. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta goes on to say even strongly, says that if someone thinks they can chant the holy name without association with sadhus, they're not chanting. It's not the holy name. We require, so you can't have the holy name without sadhu sangha, but without the holy name, you can't really have sadhu sangha. So by sadhu sangha, we get the holy name, and by that holy name, then we get deeper sadhu sangha. And then from deeper sadhu sangha, we get deeper holy name, and from deeper holy name, we get deeper sadhu sangha, etc., etc. Just as Krishna says in the Padma Purana, Atashi Krishna Nama Dinaba Vigrayam Indriya, that we can't perceive Krishna or Krishna's name with our Indriya Vyapara, with our knowledge acquiring senses. But at the same time, Seva Mukhi Jiva Do Swayameva Sparatyada, by the sense of my tongue, which is one of the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, then Swayameva Sparatyada becomes manifest. So what does that mean? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comments that it means we're doing Guru Seva. We're chanting Hare Krishna before we met Guru, before we had a connection, and that's good. But Bhaktivinoda says that chanting at that time is Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. It's something which will give us some Sukriti, which ultimately will give us connection with Guru. And Prabhupada says very strongly in Nectar Devotion, Introduction, says unless someone's taken initiation from Guru, they can't be engaged in service. They're not doing real service. But at the same time, as you pointed out, sometimes we see that someone seems like they're doing great service, and there's some great Vaishnavas, we're not sure who they were initiated by. Archai has also commented that maybe they were initiated in a previous life. We don't know, but the general principle is that someone must take initiation. In Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, he says, Atagaroshi Padadvanva Bhaktim, that the holy name gives us bhakti to Gurudev. So we can't separate Guru from the holy name. If we think that oh, now I'm chanting the holy name, I don't need Gurudev anymore, I've got Krishna directly, we're a fool. We haven't understood anything. Is that helpful, Riseshwar?
Yeah, just quick follow-up question. Thank you. So how we define, practical, because I always think about practical application in my life. So philosophy is not translated to practical practice, then, it just becomes philosophy. So when you say, like, I'm asking this question on behalf of many, because I do little preaching with my colleagues and friends. So how you define Vaishnava Kripa? Because they are initiated, they are not directly in contact with Guru, because in ISKCON management, we cannot have direct Guru service. But there are many people, like Grahastha, who doesn't have time. They chant holy name, they hear Katha. But how you define Vaishnava Kripa? Because Sadhu Sang, sometimes when they go and meet sadhus, sometimes a lot of people are maybe negative. So how you define Vaishnava Kripa here? Which, very simple translation, Vaishnava Kripa. except Guru Kripa. Because is it Guru Kripa or it is just, or just go and associate and serve devotees, ask their desires, or you just go and get along with them? How do you define in a practical sense?
Well, Vaishnava Kripa simply means that someone's helping you to come closer to Krishna. I would say that's the simplest definition. And in particular, Vaishnava is someone who should be helping you come closer to Gurudev. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, there's a prayer we often comment on, and he said that I pray that I may see my Gurudev every year, every month, every week, every day, every hour, every second. I pray that I may see my Gurudev in every person, that I may see my Gurudev in every animal, that I may see my Gurudev in every tree and every plant, and every mountain, every river. And he said, if I don't see my Gurudev constantly in all persons and everywhere, then I may fall prey to the bad desire to be Guru myself. So it's almost a word for word comment from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So we should see that Gurudev is sending different sadhus, and it's not that oh, I'm only going to hear from my Gurudev. I can't hear from anybody else. But if someone is coming and they're saying something which is helpful for me to come closer to my Gurudev, to do my Guru Seva, then I should think, oh, Gurudev sent this person. Gurudev is speaking to this person. But it doesn't mean that I have more respect for that person than I do for my Gurudev. But I'm just appreciating how Gurudev now he's speaking to this non-devotee, even speaking to the newspaper, he's speaking to Shastra. Guru is also a principle. He's a person, and as a principle, he may speak in so many different ways, but we always take it back to the person, that, oh, now I see my Gurudev as a person has sent this message through this other unusual medium. But because it really helps me, it really makes sense. It's going to help me, my Guru Seva, then I'm going to accept it. Otherwise, if I say, no, I'm not going to hear anything, I'm only going to hear class from Gurudev, I'm only going to hear Gurudev's instructions, then you're probably just going to fall down. Because the principle of Gurudev will speak through so many different people, and we should always be looking for that. My Guru spoke about this. There's a lecture we posted recently on his Facebook page, that we should see Gurudev everywhere and always be hearing from him. And that's a bona fide disciple who's looking for that. Is that helpful, Riseshwar?
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, very much helpful.
Thank you. Nice points, Prabhuji. Let's see here. Madhupati Prabhu, you made some comment in the chat. Oh, Leela Purushottam Prabhu did. I keep thinking, oh, Madhupati did also. Okay. Let's see here. Leela's comment. Shall I read this, Leela, or you want to read this? Me? Now, if anybody complains, they'll cut my neck instead of yours. So, unfortunately, I face so much of what I call institutionalized Vaishnava aparad, in the sense that you don't worry about criticizing Vaishnavas from other missions as if it couldn't count as Vaishnava aparad. I find it rather dangerous and protected as it may be presented. Yeah, we have to be very, very careful. And this is what goes on. This is one of the shortcomings of the neophyte conception of the mission of Guru. The neophyte conception is they just see the institution, and they see that all the solutions are in terms of management and like that, but they're not putting bhakti first. And the real mission, the real sangha of Srila Prabhupada is always putting bhakti first. And the management thing is there, and we respect that because that's an aspect of bhakti. But if there's a conflict between the two, between the management conception and the bhakti conception, then as true followers of Srila Prabhupada, we always want to go with the bhakti conception. Now, we may have to be sensitive about how we do that, so we don't cause a disturbance in the society. We don't want to necessarily butt heads and fight with someone. It may not even be beneficial anyway. It may not help. But we have to be careful, and maybe we have to even withdraw a little bit, somewhat, from the general sangha or something in an extreme case. That's a general comment about it. Is that helpful? Go ahead, Lula.
I'd like to ask you to help me further clarify. Would could we end up in the danger of Vaishnava aparad by hurting the feelings or the misconceptions of the Vaishnavas, of immature Vaishnavas? Meaning, like, someone has really, like sectarian mentality in that sense. Only ISKCON, and if not ISKCON, then you're demon. And by your dealing with that devotee, you would maybe even have the intention to help him to overcome such a mentality, but you would upset him. You would hurt his so-called nishta into institution. Are you risking Vaishnava aparat? Because the fact of the matter is that you hurt that Vaishnava. He feels like...
There's two considerations in this regard. One is a general consideration, another is a more specific consideration. In a general way, no, there's not an offense in that regard. But in a more specific way, I've seen many higher Vaishnavas, they're very careful because they don't want to hurt the feelings of those neophyte devotees who they're so-called nishta. So they deal with them in a gentle way, and a way to help them come to a higher position, and they don't disturb them. That yes is very good. Yes, you stay, fixed in your service here, and the other sanghas are bad. I like to be very careful about saying that kind of thing. But I do sometimes, if someone's very neophyte, you may stress with them that you should just stay here and your Gurudev will give everything, all things which are true. But I don't like to say negative things about other persons. That frightens me personally. And as far as the neophyte devotees, yeah, sometimes you got to be careful with them. My grandma's once said that the frogs can't digest ghee. And we can look and see that Christ, he hurt the feelings of some neophyte devotees. And how did they reward him for it? They nailed him to the cross. So we don't want to become a human sacrifice. If someone's going to listen to us, that's good. But if they don't have faith in us, then yes, we can encourage them, whatever keeps them going. Because it's not an easy thing to chant the holy names, especially in the Western countries. It's my thought.
On the other hand, we hear these instructions like that the sadhu guru is someone who's cutting the soul's illusion with the heavy words, or you know what I mean. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was saying these things, that sadhu is not meant to please by his speech the audience.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a long queue of devotees who want to be recognized as sadhus. Long queue of devotees, maybe you've noticed, who want to correct you, and in effect, put themselves in the position of being guru, being a very exalted person. But it doesn't always work, does it? Even you want to be humble with them, but you just don't really have faith. If you don't have faith in what they're saying, then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
So why artificially try to put yourself in that situation? My grandma's once told me, it's a controversial comment. He said, Madhavananda, you have to learn how to cheat them. Because there's some people who you can't speak the truth to them. They're just going to become disturbed. And my grandma was very expert at that. I think Srila Prabhupada was too. There's a number of stories we can cite in different ways that Prabhupada told devotees, yes, you can leave your husband and get married again. There's one example, because the devotees were shocked at Prabhupada, how could you say it? Anyway, they were going to do it anyway. So I allowed them. Now, that's cheating. But Prabhupada did that because he saw that was necessary. They're going to do it anyway on their own. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I want to go to Madhupati Prabhu, and we're about to the end of our 2-hour limit. Gorni Thai Prabhu's got something also. Madhupati Prabhu, nice to see you. Thank you for taking part in our Sangha, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, sorry for intruding your session.
Oh,
I just felt an unresistible urge to make a short comment to this previous subject, that how to speak to junior Vaishnavas or beginners. And my suggestion is do it with love and remembering that once you also were a beginner. If you do it, yes, if you do it with compassion and sincere love, then you won't make a mistake and you won't risk aparad. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's a beautiful comment.
Thank you, Madhupati Prabhu. It was wonderful.
Madhupati Prabhu ki jai. Thank you for taking part in our Sangha, Prabhu. And thank you again for helping Krishna Kum. It means a lot to me. Okay, Gornitai Prabhu made a nice comment to it, a short comment. He said that the sadhu will cut his own disciples only. Sadhu is someone who's not just a crazy person who's just going to run around in the street and start shouting at everybody he meets, "You demon, you're smoking cigarettes, you're a demon, you're eating meat, you're this." Sadhu's not a crazy person doing like that. But when someone comes close to sadhu, and that closeness is not just by initiation or some official thing, but when sadhu feels like that person can really take chastisement, then they may speak in a very harsh way, which is a very wonderful thing we're all hankering for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I'm not sure what's going to happen next week. We're with Indra Maharaj's mad party right now. It's really ecstatic. Tomorrow we're going to a few special places. Usually we're back in the afternoon, so I'll probably have time in the afternoon. Yesterday we were on the road for about 6 hours, and then I had a long lunch with Indra Maharaj and some of the devotees, and I just wasn't up to doing the program yesterday with all of you. So anyway, I hope we're all here next week. Please come if you can. It's nice to see Nikunja behind.
Please, when you have the kata on the parikramas, please let us know, and then if you can share this link, it would be great.
I'll do that. I think Visheshwar Prabhu is pretty good about that. I think he jumped off this thing here, but I can ask him to do that. He's there with the group, and I really hope that everybody here, that all of you be very respectful and chant nice rounds. And if you're very good next week, maybe we'll possibly get the benefit of Madhupati Prabhu's association again.
I hope.
Only if we're all very sincere. Madhupati Prabhu gets upset with me, chastises me when I glorify him. You don't know what I've been going through, Madhupati Prabhu, with Indra Maharaj. Today also, when we went for lunch, he started going in this whole thing in front of Narenjana Maharaj. And what can you do? You can't argue with him. It's out of love and affection. It's out of love and affection I'm saying some things like this to you. We do like your association. We'd like that. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki, Go Premanandi Go, Sikha Kripa Sindhu Vyeva Chapatitanam, Pavanebhyo Vaishnavedhyo Namo Namaha, Ananda Koti